It started with a cough. Jamie never gets sick. He's one of those annoyingly healthy guys who never skips a gym day, lives off protein shakes and quinoa, and somehow manages to avoid every seasonal flu. So when he called me sounding like his lungs were trying to escape his body, I knew it was bad. "You gotta help me out," he croaked. "It's just for today, please, man. Just check people in and hand out towels. That's literally it." I rolled my eyes, even though he couldn't see it through the phone. "Jamie, I'm not exactly gym material." "It's a boutique place," he said. "Quiet, bougie. No one's gonna expect you to bench press a car or whatever. Just do me this favor." I already told my boss someone would be there. I should have said no. I had freelance edits piling up and zero desire to stand behind a reception desk pretending to care about spin class reservations. But he's my brother, and he's done plenty for me. So I agreed. I didn't know what I was walking into. The gym was in a glass building, tucked into one of those sterile, high-end districts that smell like eucalyptus and overpriced oat milk. I showed up in Jamie's spare uniform, a black polo and joggers that clung a little tighter on me than they did on him. Inside, the place looked like a health influencer's dream. Warm lighting, minimalist decor, curated music that made you feel like you should be sipping cucumber water while contemplating your macros. I found the front desk, logged into Jamie's account, and fumbled my way through the first half hour of shift duties. Greet people, scan memberships, try not to look like an imposter. Then he walked in. I didn't see him at first. I just felt that thing, like the energy in the room shifted. When I looked up, he was standing at the entrance talking to someone near the juice bar. Tall. Impossibly so. Broad shoulders, hair that looked both messy and intentional, sharp jawline, slate gray eyes that scanned the room like they didn't miss a thing. When he finally looked at me, it was like he knew I wasn't supposed to be there. He crossed the lobby, all calm confidence, and stopped in front of the desk. "You're not Jamie." His voice was low, smooth, not aggressive, but firm. "I'm his brother," I said, hoping I didn't sound as nervous as I felt. "He's sick. Asked me to cover." His eyes lingered on me a little too long, like he was weighing something. "Huh. Didn't know he had a twin," I half smiled. "Fraternal. I'm the one with the broken metabolism." That got a tiny smirk out of him. Just a flicker. But it felt earned. "I'm Callum," he said. "I run this place." "Oh, of course." The boss. "Right," I said, sticking out a hand. "Matt." His shake was firm, not overly so. But there was a pause after the shake. His hand held mine a beat longer than expected. Not long enough to be weird, just noticeable. "Welcome aboard, Matt," he said, then added with a raised brow. "Even if just for the day." He walked away before I could say anything else. The rest of the shift passed without incident, but I caught Callum watching me. Not constantly, but every so often I'd glance over and find him leaning in a doorway or perched near the squat racks, eyes casually drifting back to the desk. By 6 p.m., the gym had thinned out. A few people lingered in the locker rooms. The music had mellowed. I was stacking towels when I heard someone clear their throat. "Callum." "Need a hand?" he asked, already picking up a stack. I blinked. Sure. Thanks." We worked in silence for a bit, folding towels onto shelves. He didn't look at me, just moved with the kind of ease that said he wasn't here to actually help. "So," he said finally, "Jamie said you're a video editor?" I glanced at him. "Yeah." "Freelance mostly. Corporate stuff, weddings, some YouTube work." He nodded slowly, folding a towel with perfect edges. "You like it?" I shrugged. "Most days. Better than retail. Or folding towels." He smirked again, then turned to face me fully. "You ever thought about filming fitness content?" That caught me off guard. Not really." Why? He leaned one arm against the shelf, suddenly closer than he'd been all day. We've been looking to revamp our video catalog, tutorials, social media. A different kind of eye might be good. Oh, I said. Well, I mean, maybe. There was a pause, not awkward, but thick. He looked at me in that way again. Assessing, unreadable. You're not what I expected, he said. I blinked. What did you expect? He tilted his head, then gave me a once-over. Jamie's quieter, polished, kind of robotic. And I'm? Callum's eyes met mine. Not that. I opened my mouth to say something. What? I didn't know. But he cut me off by stepping even closer. Just one step. But the space between us evaporated. I'll be in my office, he said, voice lower now. Come by before you leave. He didn't wait for a response, just turned and walked away. I stared after him, unsure what the hell just happened, but I knew one thing. I was definitely going. I stood there for a while, holding a half-folded towel and trying to slow my pulse. That last look Callum gave me, it wasn't just professional curiosity. There was something else behind it, something heavier, something I wasn't ready to name out loud yet. I waited until the last gym member left before making my way to the back offices. The hallway was quiet, dimly lit compared to the open floor, and lined with doors that all looked the same except one. Callum's. Frosted glass, nameplate, door slightly ajar. I hesitated outside for a second, then knocked. Come in. His voice was calm, even. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The office was surprisingly warm. Earth tones, bookshelves, a small espresso machine in the corner. A big desk dominated the center, but he wasn't behind it. He was leaning against the far wall, arms crossed, sleeves rolled up to the elbows again like earlier. He looked like he belonged in some GQ spread titled, Men Who Actually Get Shit Done. You made it, he said. I offered a half smile. Didn't think I had much of a choice. He nodded, pushing off the wall. I guess you didn't. He walked around the desk and gestured toward the chair in front of it. I sat. He didn't. Instead, he leaned against the front edge of the desk, just a few feet from me, watching. I meant what I said earlier, he said. You've got a different energy. People noticed. I wasn't sure how to respond, so I said the first dumb thing that came to mind. You mean I didn't screw up too badly? Callum let out a low chuckle. Actually, you did. You gave one member access to the wrong locker, and you charged someone for a smoothie they didn't order. I winced. Shit, sorry. But, he added, you smiled through it. Handled it better than half the new hires we've had. I let out a breath. Okay, so not fired. You were never hired. Right, I said, rubbing the back of my neck. Still, thanks, I guess. He studied me for a second. You comfortable being watched, Matt? I blinked. What? Callum didn't move. You noticed me watching you today. It wasn't a question, more like a statement laid flat between us, daring me to deny it. I mean, yeah, I admitted. A little hard to miss, he nodded slowly. Did it make you uncomfortable? I couldn't tell if this was some kind of weird interview test or something more. But either way, I felt the air shift again. No, I said quietly. Not really. He leaned forward slightly, not touching, not even close enough to, but close enough for me to feel it. There's something about you, Matt, he said. I can't quite figure it out. You walk in here like you don't belong, like you're borrowing the air. But then you talk to people like it's the most natural thing in the world. And you look at me like... He trailed off, and for a second, all I could hear was the soft hum of the AC and my own heartbeat thudding in my ears. Like what? I asked. Callum's jaw tightened slightly. Like you're not afraid of what I might say next. I swallowed. Should I be? His eyes locked on mine. That unreadable expression again, But this time, I thought I saw it crack, just a little. "No," he said quietly. "But I think I might be." I don't know what I expected him to say. That wasn't it. He stood upright, pacing a short line between the desk and the bookshelves, like he was trying to shake something off. "I'm not usually like this," he said, almost to himself. "I keep things clean, straightforward, especially with staff." I stayed silent, not wanting to interrupt whatever was unfolding here. "You're not staff," he said, finally turning back to face me. "No," I said. "I'm not." He stepped closer again, slower this time. There was no rush, just tension coiling tighter and tighter with every foot closed between us. When he stopped, he was standing directly in front of me. "I shouldn't be doing this," he said, and then he reached out. His hand didn't touch me. It just hovered near my jaw, like he was giving me the option to close the space. I didn't move. Not away, not forward, but I didn't pull back either. We stood like that, breath to breath. The moment stretched so tight it felt like one more second would snap it in half. "Matt," he said, voice low, almost pained. "Say something." I looked up at him and said the only thing that came to mind. "I think I want you to." He didn't move right away. Callum just stood there, watching me, his hand still hovering near my face like he needed one final green light. I didn't say anything else. I didn't have to. His fingers brushed along my jaw, slow and careful, like he was still waiting for me to flinch. I couldn't. My whole body felt frozen, but not in fear. More like anticipation, like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing the only thing left to do is jump. Then he kissed me. It wasn't rushed or messy. It was controlled, like everything else about him, but not cold. His mouth was warm, firm, deliberate, like he'd thought about this longer than I had. I kissed him back before I could think about what I was doing. Before I remembered this was my brother's job. Before I remembered this man was technically Jamie's boss. None of it mattered in that moment. The kiss didn't last long. Barely 10 seconds, maybe less. But when he pulled back, it was like the air had shifted again. Like whatever we were pretending this was, it couldn't be taken back now. Callum stepped back, raking a hand through his hair. "Shit," he muttered, almost under his breath. I didn't move from the chair. My lips still tingled. "You regret that?" He looked at me then, something stormy in his eyes. "I regret that I didn't wait until you weren't wearing a staff polo." I let out a soft laugh, more from relief than anything else. "Yeah, it's not really my color." He didn't smile back. His jaw clenched, like something else was brewing under the surface. "This complicates things," he said. I leaned back in the chair. "Only if you make it complicated." He raised an eyebrow. "Jamie's a good employee, a reliable one. He doesn't cause problems." I met his gaze. "And you think I'm going to?" He studied me again, really studied me. "No, I think you're the kind of problem I wouldn't mind having." That caught me off guard. I didn't know if it was a compliment or a warning, maybe both. The silence between us settled again, heavier this time. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't casual either. He sighed and finally sat behind the desk, dragging a hand down his face. "Look, I'm not here to play games. If this is just a heat-of-the-moment thing—" "It's not," I interrupted, surprising even myself. Callum looked at me. Really looked. "You sure about that?" I nodded. "Yeah. I don't know what this is yet, but I'm not going to pretend nothing happened." He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "All right." We sat in it for a moment, whatever this was. The tension, the confusion, the weird electric line that had drawn itself between us since the first time he said my name. Finally, he broke the silence. "You free tomorrow night?" I blinked. "Like for what?" "A drink. Somewhere that's not this gym. Somewhere you're not wearing your brother's name tag." I laughed, shaking my head. "Wow, high standards." He smirked. "A little." I nodded. "Yeah, I'm free." He pulled a notepad from his desk drawer, scribbled something down, and slid it across the desk. "Meet me here, 7. I glanced at the address. Some low-key bar I'd actually been to once. Cozy, quiet. Not the kind of place where Callum would stand out, but somehow, I knew he still would. "Okay," I said, standing slowly. He followed me to the door, not touching me this time, just walking close enough to feel the heat between us still simmering under the surface. At the threshold, I turned to face him. "Should I tell Jamie you said hi?" Callum smirked, then leaned in. Not for a kiss, just close enough for his voice to drop again. "Tell him I appreciate the substitute." And then he stepped back into his office, leaving me with a racing heart and way too many thoughts I couldn't untangle. The next day dragged. I tried to focus on work, but editing footage of a boring real estate walkthrough didn't exactly drown out the memory of Callum's mouth on mine, or the way he said, "Tell him I appreciate the substitute." I must have replayed that line 100 times. It was cocky, but not in a bad way, more like he knew exactly what he was doing and wasn't going to pretend otherwise. Jamie texted around noon. "Thanks again for covering. Still feel like crap, but boss said you handled it fine. Didn't expect that from you, lol." I stared at the message for a while, unsure how to even respond. He had no idea. I just replied, "No worries. Hope you feel better soon." That night, I got to the bar 10 minutes early. Nerves. I hate being that guy who shows up early to a date. Not that I was even calling it a date out loud yet, but I couldn't help it. The place was dimly lit, all dark wood and leather booths, low music humming in the background. It was intimate without trying too hard. Callum walked in at exactly 7:02. He wore a navy button-up, sleeves rolled, collar open, not too dressed up, not too casual, but he looked good, like always. He spotted me and smiled. Not the polite smile from the gym, a real one. "You waited," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "I figured you might ghost me," I said, only half joking. Callum raised an eyebrow. "Why would I do that?" "I don't know. Maybe you thought about it and realized kissing your employee's brother was a bad idea." He smirked. "I did think about it." I waited, holding his gaze. "And?" I decided I don't care. That shut me up for a second. We ordered drinks. Small talk came easier than I expected. He asked about my editing work. I asked about running a gym. He told me he used to be a trainer before buying into the business. Apparently, the gym was originally co-owned by an older investor who wanted out, and Callum took over full management last year. "I wasn't supposed to be the guy in charge," he said. "I was supposed to be the guy who did the job and went home." I tilted my head. "But now you are the guy in charge." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess I am." There was something in his voice then, like maybe he didn't love it as much as people assumed. When our second round came, the conversation shifted. "You know, Jamie's mentioned you before," Callum said, idly swirling the ice in his glass. Hopefully in flattering terms. He grinned. "He said you were the artsy one. The dreamer." I rolled my eyes. "That's Jamie speak for. Unemployed for 6 months after graduation." Callum's smile didn't fade. "I think he meant it as a compliment. Said you were always the one who followed your gut." That hit me in a weird way. Not bad, just unexpected. "Wasn't always easy," I said quietly. "Especially when it didn't work out the way I thought it would." Callum nodded, watching me. "You don't strike me as someone who regrets much," I laughed. "You'd be surprised." The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was charged. Again, like every time we paused, something just underneath the surface was begging to be acknowledged. Finally, he leaned in, arms on the table. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." That moment yesterday in the office. Was that the first time something like that's happened? I knew what he meant. And he wasn't asking for a body count. "With a guy?" I asked. He nodded once. "No," I said. "But the first time with someone I wasn't supposed to want." His eyes didn't leave mine. "Do you think I'm someone you're not supposed to want?" I think you're someone Jamie would lose his mind over if he knew. Callum gave a quiet laugh, but it didn't fully reach his eyes. Jamie's not the one who is in that office, he said. I didn't know how to respond to that. Because it was true. He wasn't. And maybe that's what made all of this even more confusing. Or maybe it made it simpler. Callum reached for his glass, then paused. Look, Matt, I'm not going to play the slow game here. I like you. I don't know what this is yet, but I'd like to find out. If you're in. My heart kicked up in my chest. Not because I didn't want this, but because part of me already knew I did, and that scared the hell out of me. I'm in, I said, but I don't want to be some after-hours secret either. He nodded. Fair. Another pause. Then he added, so what happens if Jamie finds out? I exhaled slowly. Then I guess we both better figure out if this is worth it. After that night, things didn't go back to normal. They didn't really go anywhere, not in the typical way. It wasn't like we were suddenly dating. There weren't good morning texts or hand-holding in public. It was more like a shift, a quiet one. A shift in how I looked at my phone when it buzzed. A shift in how I walked past the gym and wondered if Callum was inside, thinking about me the way I was thinking about him. He texted 2 days later. Still interested in filming content for the gym? I said yes, which is how I found myself back at Forge Studio Gym the following week, but not behind the desk. This time, I had my camera bag slung over my shoulder and a list of content ideas I'd scribbled into my notes app at 2 a.m. the night after our bar meetup. Callum met me at the front. You're early, he said, holding the door open. You're surprised? I'm impressed. He walked me through the filming plan like we were just coworkers. He was professional, clear, efficient. A part of me wondered if I'd imagined the kiss in his office, or the way his eyes lingered over the rim of his whiskey glass last week. But then he leaned in while showing me where to set up the lighting rig, and his hand grazed my lower back. Barely there, barely anything, but the way it sent a bolt through me told me I hadn't imagined a thing. We filmed for 3 hours, trainers demonstrating proper form, some B-roll of clients with consent, promo clips. Callum was everywhere, checking angles, correcting posture, lifting weights like it was no big deal, muscles flexing under a black sleeveless shirt that really should have been illegal. Need me to run that again? He asked after a shot. No, I said. Unless you want me to film it in slow motion for my personal collection. He shot me a look, smirk tugging at one corner of his mouth. You'd need consent for that. Maybe I'll get it later. He didn't say anything to that. Just kept smirking as he wiped sweat from his forehead and moved to the next setup. After everyone else had cleared out, I stayed behind to break down my gear. Callum stuck around too. You did good today, he said, leaning against a weight rack. The footage looked solid. Thanks. I'll have edits by the weekend. He nodded. You always this fast? I zipped my camera bag. Only when I'm motivated. Callum walked closer. That same slow, careful energy. Not unsure, just deliberate. What's your motivation now? He asked. I looked up at him. You really asking? His gaze didn't flinch. I'm really asking. Then yeah, I said. You're part of it, he exhaled. Not dramatic. Just enough to show something in him, eased up at the words. He stepped even closer, hands brushing his pockets like he didn't know what to do with them. You want to come back to mine? He asked, low. There was no pressure in the way he said it, just quiet honesty. Just the offer. I nodded. Yeah. We didn't talk much on the drive. He kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting against his thigh, fingers tapping like he was thinking too hard. When we got to his apartment, an industrial loft, exposed brick, open layout, soft lighting, I tried not to look impressed. I failed. He locked the door behind us, then turned to me. You good? I nodded. You? He took a few steps forward. The way his eyes flicked between mine, the slow breath he took, the way he stood still, just long enough to give me space if I wanted out. But I didn't want out, so I closed the space. This kiss wasn't like the one in his office. It was less controlled, less cautious, it was need. It was mouths parting with quiet gasps, hands finding hips, shirts pulling free of waistbands. He guided me backwards, breath hitching when I slipped my hand under his shirt and felt the heat of his skin. We didn't make it to the bedroom at first. We didn't need to. The couch was there, so was the urgency. Clothes fell away, but not all at once. Slowly, piece by piece, like we were figuring each other out through touch, through looks, through the kind of intimacy that didn't need words. Afterward, we lay tangled on the couch, catching our breath. My head rested on his shoulder, his hand lightly tracing patterns on my forearm. I broke the silence. "So, what is this?" Callum didn't answer right away. "I don't know," he said finally, "but I want to keep finding out." I looked up at him. "Even if Jamie finds out?" He exhaled again, slower this time. "Yeah, even then." And just like that, something settled between us. Not a promise, not a plan, just an understanding. Something was happening here, and neither of us was running from it. We didn't talk about it again for a while. About what this was, I mean. Whatever was building between us. After that night at Callum's place, we kind of fell into this quiet rhythm. Calls about edits turning into long conversations that drifted past work. Filming sessions that always ran longer than they needed to. His texts, short but steady. Always something like, "Still up? You free tomorrow? I can't stop thinking about the way you kissed me." That last one nearly short-circuited my brain. We weren't rushing into anything, but we weren't hiding either. Not really, except from Jamie. That part got trickier by the day. He was feeling better now, and back at work. Callum and I both knew we were on borrowed time. Eventually Jamie would notice something. An offhand comment, a slip in my tone, a look that lingered too long when we thought no one was watching. I saw him that Sunday, when I dropped by his apartment for Mom's birthday dinner. He was sprawled on the couch, hoodie half-zipped, casually scrolling on his phone. "You and Callum got along all right when you subbed for me?" he asked, barely glancing up. I froze. "Yeah," I said, trying to sound casual. "He's intense, but seems cool." Jamie smirked. "Dude's a machine. He barely talks to most people. Guess you left a decent impression if he let you come back to film stuff." "Guess so." He didn't press further, but I knew it was coming. Eventually. That night, Callum called. "You think we're being stupid?" he asked after a pause. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. "You mean doing this?" "Doing this while I'm technically your brother's boss." I turned onto my side. "I mean, yeah, it's not exactly ideal." He let out a breath, quiet. "But I don't want to stop." I bit my lip. "Then maybe we don't. Not yet." He didn't reply right away, but the silence didn't feel uncertain. It felt like agreement. Later that week, we were filming another gym promo, this time after hours. The place was quiet, dark except for the floor lights we'd set up for the shoot. I was adjusting the camera tripod when I felt him step behind me. "You know," he said low, "you're getting good at this." "Filming?" "No," he said, fingers brushing against my hip. "Getting under my skin." I straightened up, turning to face him. That a compliment? Probably a mistake. But his mouth was already inches from mine, and he kissed me again. There, in the middle of the empty gym, lit by nothing but soft lights and shadows. It wasn't desperate or fast, just real, confident, like neither of us were pretending anymore. We kept working afterward, but the tension stayed. Every glance, every accidental brush. By the end of the night, I was pretty sure we weren't getting any real work done. As I packed up my gear, he walked me out to the parking lot. We stood next to my car, both of us quiet. "I meant what I said before," he murmured. "I don't do this. Not with clients, not with staff, not with brothers of staff." I looked at him. "So why me?" He didn't answer right away. Then he stepped forward, close again, one hand on my hip, the other sliding up under my jacket, resting at the small of my back. "Because you showed up pretending to be someone else," he said, "and somehow became the only person who makes me feel like myself." My heart did something stupid at that. I didn't say anything, just kissed him again, slower this time. Like I meant it, like I needed him to feel it. And I think he did. It couldn't last. Not like that, anyway. Quiet touches after hours. Long stares across the gym floor. Kisses stolen between edits and appointments. It was all starting to feel too big for the bubble we were pretending to live in. The problem wasn't what we had. The problem was Jamie. And how fast we were running out of ways to keep this from him. It happened one evening, in the worst possible way. I had dropped by the gym to deliver final cuts for a video campaign. Callum was finishing a session with a client, so I waited in the break room, scrolling my phone, minding my own business. Then Jamie walked in. He looked surprised to see me. "Didn't know you were coming by tonight." I quickly straightened up. "Just dropping off the edited videos. Callum wanted them before the weekend." He eyed me. "You've been working with him a lot," I shrugged. He asked. I had the time. Jamie grabbed a water bottle from the mini fridge and leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You two talk outside of work?" I kept my face neutral. "Sometimes." He tilted his head. "You're kind of being weird, man." Before I could respond, Callum stepped into the doorway. He looked from me to Jamie, instantly catching the tension. "Everything all right?" he asked. Jamie didn't answer at first, just stared at him. Then he laughed once, quiet and sharp. "Wait a second." Callum's brow furrowed. "Jamie." "No," Jamie said, eyes still on me now. "Wait, are you two?" My stomach dropped. Callum took a slow step forward, calm but steady. "Jamie, don't." Jamie cut him off. "Don't lie to me, man. I've known you for 2 years. I know when you're trying to bullshit." I stood there, frozen. Callum didn't deny it. That was the moment it broke. Jamie turned to me, face caught somewhere between disbelief and anger. "Seriously, my boss? Of all people?" "I didn't plan this," I said quickly. "It just happened." He shook his head, laughing bitterly. "You always do this. You slide into things without thinking about who it affects." That stung more than I expected. "I didn't slide into anything," I snapped. "We care about each other," Jamie scoffed. "You've known him 5 minutes. Maybe that's all it takes when it feels real." Callum stepped between us then, voice firm but calm. "This is my fault too, Jamie. Don't put it all on him." "No, man. You don't get to play noble now." Jamie's eyes narrowed. "You should have come to me. Both of you." "I was going to," I said. You just kept pretending it didn't matter." He finished. Then his voice dropped. "You know how much respect I had for you, Callum." Callum stood straighter. "And I didn't do this lightly. But I'm not going to pretend it's nothing. It's not." Jamie looked between us again. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out. The sound of the door slamming echoed like a gunshot. Silence settled between me and Callum. A heavy, miserable silence. I let out a shaky breath. "Well, that went great." Callum rubbed the back of his neck. "I should have told him. We both should have." He nodded. Neither of us said much after that. I handed him the flash drive and left without another word. That night, I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying Jamie's face in my head, the way his voice cracked on, "My boss?" It hurt. Because he wasn't just angry, he was hurt too. But something inside me knew I wouldn't have changed what happened between me and Callum. Not even now. A week passed. Jamie didn't call. Didn't text. When I messaged him just to check in, he left it on read. I didn't blame him. What happened blindsided him. And the truth was, I hadn't been honest. I let something serious grow in secret. And he found out the worst way. From our silence. Callum gave me space during that week. He didn't push. No late night texts, no surprise calls. Just one quiet message a few days in, "I'm here when you're ready." It should have felt comforting, but mostly it felt complicated. I wasn't ready. Not to make decisions, not to talk, not to explain this to everyone else. I just needed time to sit with what we'd done, what I wanted. Eventually, I knew I had to face it. Jamie was working late, so I went to his apartment around 9 on a Thursday. His roommate let me in without saying much. He was sitting at the kitchen counter, scrolling through something on his laptop, earbuds in. He didn't look up when I came in, but he didn't kick me out either. "Hey," I said quietly. No answer. Not at first. Then he pulled his earbuds out and closed the screen. He didn't say anything, but I could see the tension still there in his shoulders. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," I started. "I should have told you." It wasn't just about me and Callum trying to hide it. It was about me being scared of how it would affect you. Jamie looked at me, tired but focused. "You didn't trust me." "I didn't trust me," I said, "because if I told you, I'd have to admit it was real." "And it is real," he sighed. "You know I don't care that he's a guy." "I know. It's the fact that he's my boss. You couldn't find literally anyone else in the entire damn city?" I let out a short laugh, despite myself. Believe me, I didn't go looking for this. I was just trying to hand out towels. Jamie shook his head, but I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. Just barely. Like the part of him that used to joke with me was still there, buried under all the hurt. "You love him?" he asked suddenly. I blinked. "I don't know. I'm not there yet. But I'm getting closer." He nodded slowly. "You sure this isn't just about how he looks in those tight-ass shirts?" "Not just," I said. "Though it doesn't hurt." He rolled his eyes. "You're such a disaster." "I know." We sat in silence for a minute. Then Jamie let out a sigh. "I still think it's weird, but if he hurts you..." "He won't. You don't know that." "I don't," I said. "But I think he wants this to work as much as I do." Jamie stared at me for a second longer, then finally stood and walked toward the fridge. "Fine," he muttered. "But I'm never calling him Callum again. From now on, he's just Mr. Abs." I exhaled, relief hitting me like a wave. "Fair." That weekend, I saw Callum again. We met at a park this time. Neutral ground. No gym, no cameras, no pressure. He brought coffee. I brought everything I hadn't said. "He knows," I told him, "and he's mad. But I think he's gonna be okay." Callum nodded. "I never wanted to put a wedge between you two." "You didn't. I did." He took a sip of his coffee, then looked at me. "So what now?" I stepped closer, hands in my jacket pockets. "Now, I think we stop pretending this is temporary." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "You sure?" he asked. "Because this only works if you're all in." I nodded. "I am." His eyes didn't leave mine. "Good," he said, "because I am too." He reached for my hand then, right there in public. No hesitation. And I didn't pull away. We weren't perfect. We weren't simple. But we were honest now, and that was enough.